Good morning. I love that part. Join us standing for our opening song. Fill me up all of my days. Mine with deep knowing. Each time I give, I will also receive. It's more than enough, even though it may seem contrary to popular notion. God is our source, eternally giving, higher than the sky, deeper than the ocean. Abundance is mine, joy overflowing, fill me up all of my days. Share what is mine, deep-seated knowing, each time I give, I will also receive. There's more than enough, even though it may seem contrary to popular notion. God is our source, eternally giving, higher than the sky, deeper than the ocean. This is mine, joy overflowing, fill me up all of my days. Abundance is mine, keeps me flowing, fill me up all of my days. Abundance is mine, joy overflowing, fill me up all of my days. I cannot tell you how much pleasure it gives me to welcome you all here today. Welcome to the Louisville Center for Spiritual Living. And this is an unusual time of the month for Carolyn to be gone, but she is taking her day off today. And we have a very special event, which I know most of you know because I can see that most of you are here for Miss Wendy. It's a wonderful thing. And so I just want to invite us first to do a little dropping into the center. Let's give yourself a moment to fully arrive. Each of us has come from completely unique paths, and Spirit has drawn us here together in unity to share one experience among a multitude. Just take that pausing breath together, breathing in deeply and exhaling completely. Feeling the invitation to the space and the atmosphere of the holiday season, and the anticipation and the joy, knowing that each of these qualities is expressed of Spirit through each and every one of us, and that these qualities are available through the omnipresent at every point, everywhere, in every unfolding now. So that we know that as we have come together, that this is available to all of those who are seeking, and that we are right here, right now, that place where Spirit has shown up. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Presence of Life. I release it and let it be, and so it is. Miss Pat is going to, I was looking for my van, I didn't see you, I'd gone over there. She's going to do our candle lighting. And now I will turn this over to Gordon for our announcements.
Okay, I am jolly old St. Gordy this morning, it looks like. Yeah, I've been more jolly than I am tonight, but that just has to do with how much sleep one gets, you know. So where are we at here? Announcements. Okay. There's some cats. This is two cats at the bar jump. So they bring in a tree in the house, and they put all these shiny dangling things on it. Then we freak out if we go near it. This is why I drink. I get it. Yeah. Okay, should you look outside and see this? No, but it is, I think they said 32 now. 9 o'clock was a low of 32. Check for LCSA closing information, WHAS 11. Okay, take it or leave it. It's a Tilly day. 2 of 3 tables back in here. And by the way, these are also going to go to the Tilly's table, so if anybody feels like they need a few more.
No.
Oh, you already got them bagged?
Those are mine, the green Christmas trees and the snowflakes. The red and the green placemats will go back there if you would like those.
And so are the poinsettias.
Oh, okay. And the
Poinsettias will go back there. Okay, great. World
we have
Heal.
bags.
Pardon?
We have bags. Under the table over there, there's some bags. Please take all the books you want. There's no limit on the books.
Okay.
So grab it up and get a bag and fill it up. Free.
Okay. Okay, we have our World Healing Meditation coming up. Do you want to say something about that?
Sure. So the slide is self-explanatory. I just want to say that this event is such a phenomenal way to start a new year. If you happen to be conscious at 7 o'clock in the morning on, this isn't the first of the year, this is the morning of New Year's, the 31st, All you have to do is call in, and it's a facilitated event. You do have an opportunity to share, but it's not necessary. And just knowing that you're with a group of people holding space for peace on earth and the kingdom of heaven at hand, and that people around the world, this still goes on around the world. So that's, I'm just saying, it's just awesome. And if you don't get the number down, it's in the weekly update. It's the same number for all the telebridges. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Practitioner of the day is our Vicki Jeter. Meet Vicki up in front of the power shower, right over here, for the group prayer and other not spoken requests. See any of the practitioners. Everyone is a child of, oh, this is our affirmation. We all get to do this one today together.
Everyone is a child of God. Everyone. We are all reflections of our source, which is magnificent in all ways. Yes.
Tell your story. Do you dare? Maybe so, maybe not. Yeah. Okay, stories today, guys. You got to have something. The whole week has transpired here. There's got to be something, some little thing. I could talk about my dogs, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to spare you the thing. Thank God for that. No dog stories. Okay. Well, if anybody, is anybody in shopping for a barn? No? Okay. I saw one for sale today anyway. There's a giant, like a 100-foot-long pole barn. Yeah. In Detroit. You just have to go get it. That's why it's such a deal. You know, the Rust Belt comes home. Yeah. Okay, then,
right, then.
I think we are now.
We're up to sacred reading. Thank you so much, Gordon. We should perhaps make hay out of our resident stand-up comic. Possibly, if we let people know, we could fill the room that way. The reading I chose this morning comes from the wisdom of Khalil Gibran. Doubt is a pain too lonely to know that faith is its twin brother. If you had a choice between befriending doubt or faith, which would you choose? They live together, but they live on different floors in consciousness. Doubt lives in the basement, scared to come up and do things. He feels so isolated from the world that his loneliness keeps him from understanding that faith is his twin soul and lives in exactly the same house. But faith lives on the top floor so that it can look out the window and view all the opportunity that is there. You get to choose which you will befriend. And as you do, you will be able to let go of the other one. I just want to leave us with one additional thought this morning. When I was in prayer and meditation, it came to me about the 12 days of Christmas. This isn't exactly 12 days down, but we're 10 days down. And it's just an opportunity for us to possibly reach back into some of the traditions of old and remember that Christmas is a season, the Christ is a consciousness, and we have the opportunity every day as we count down to Christmas Day to ask ourselves, what gift is Spirit bringing me today? On the 10th day before Christmas, what gift am I receiving for myself? And then tomorrow, on the 9th day before Christmas, what gift am I receiving for myself for the Christmas season? And what then do I have to pass on to all those around me? Now we're to special music, Mr. Lowe. Thank you, Lo. Oh, my gosh. So we're doing a little bit different order of service today because it is a very special day. So we're going to do our offering and prayer requests next. And so the basket will be coming around, and for those of you who might like to give electronically, the square is behind Vernon. And then online, you can go to cslonline.org, and you're looking for a donate button there. And we so appreciate all of your support. And don't let me forget, I'm going to. And so now, if you would like to affirm our prosperity affirmation, during these happy holidays, I radiate the energy of abundance and generosity that uplifts me and all those I come in contact with. Praise God. This is actually one of my very, very favorite portions of our service that we do. For those of you who may not know, this is our prayer request box, and prayers that are either put in here written or even energetically are received by your practitioner team, and we hold them in prayer until we come to a knowing that your good is at hand. So this morning, I just want to take 10 seconds and invite you all, even if you don't have a prayer request in here, hold a prayer request in mind for yourself as I say this treatment. In gratitude paid forward for this opportunity, knowing that Spirit awaits these times when we're speaking the word of good on the leading edge of what is possible. As I recognize there is one life that is the divine creative presence, the all that is all, that there is no other, and that all is only love, and everything else is but the expression and movement of life through that love. Guided and guarded by a divine law that only says yes and never misses. And in that all is well. And I am one with it as the all that is all expressed through me, as is each person here present, the all expressed in mind, heart, and soul. And from this alignment, I realize in my experience of each person here present and of this group as a whole, that the good is at hand as we embody it in this moment, that there is clarity of mind and passion of heart for the truth, and that together takes us to the level of belief that makes it manifest right now. And for this knowing and my doubtlessness in it, thank you, thank you, thank you. I simply release it with the heart of a child. I let it be, and so it is. And now, I will be blessing the offering. And I think it's done, so I'm just going to say thank you on a human level, thank you on an emotional level, thank you on a physical level. Amen. One more thing. Now I get to introduce Wendy. It's so exciting. When I asked her would she like an introduction, she said, well, she said, I think that works, but don't say a whole lot. So yeah. It's just so totally awesome. I think you all know Wendy, so that goes without saying. I'm very excited to hear what she has to share today, so I'm going to let her just speak that for herself. But consider her welcomed and introduced to you, Miss Wendy Sharp.
Good morning, everybody. Really appreciate everyone coming. It's hard to talk to empty chairs, so it's all good. So we're going to talk a little bit about the season of light today and how sometimes it doesn't always feel that way. So it's the season of love, peace, and joy. How do we maintain a state of joyful expectation of celebrating the arrival of the light in the world with all the darkness we see and hear about every day? And I say arrival of light instead of arrival of Christ consciousness because nearly every religion, Christian and otherwise, celebrates at this time of year. And at its most primitive, this time of year is about welcoming light back in the world because, as you know, it's been getting darker and darker. Is it just me? Is it getting dark at like 3:30 in the afternoon? Yeah. So the winter solstice is when we move through the longest, darkest night and into a time of the light growing stronger. So most people listening to me today, whether they're Christian or otherwise, it's likely that you're celebrating a festival of light this time of year. And so the themes of giving, of sharing food, of helping others, and loving the stranger abound. That's what this time of year is about. We all smile more, we're all happier, we're excited. And if you have children in your life, it's even better. So Christmas music is playing everywhere, and holiday parties and family gatherings are in full swing. And all of that's going on at the same time as we are confronted with the reality that many people are angry or scared about the way things are in the world. Complicating that fear and anger is the sense that there's no middle ground. And though few of us really see ourselves as very conservative or very liberal, the message we're hearing is, you have to pick a side, right? So we don't like that. Most of us are kind of in the middle. So for me, moving through something difficult always begins with understanding it. I can tell you I've been struggling with understanding what's going on for the past few years. I thought I knew what it meant to be an American, perhaps arrogantly. I thought that my understanding of America was everyone's. And the discovery that there are very different values and views of being American was kind of disorienting for me. That phenomenon is really not limited to this country. It's not just an American thing that's happening. In fact, in democratic countries all over the world, there are people who are angry, fearful, and demanding change, some sort of change. At the same time, there are others who think things are great just like they are. It's confusing, and frankly, it's a bit unsettling, particularly because the anger and fear seems to be driving separation along old and unpleasant lines. Religion and ethnicity being the two that seem most common, but there are others. And I'm not going to focus on any of them. It's just that I thought I lived in a nation founded on the idea of providing everyone with the opportunity for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But for some Americans, there seemed to be this giant yes, but not those people. And if you think I'm pointing at those on the far right, no, because the comments of those on the far left seem to also gleefully plot for ways to exclude the demographics they don't like. None of those sentiments feel very like a celebration of love and light that one is looking for in December. But I believe we need to take a good look at ourselves and understand that these behaviors and attitudes are very much a part of the human experience. They are natural and driven by the very thing that makes us loving and committed to one another. Humans form tight bonds within their families and close communities. By definition, those bonds recognize a difference, right, between who is us and who is them. When the founding fathers proposed that we live without consideration for religion or country of origin, it wasn't just a radical and beautiful idea. It was a big leap from basic human nature. And through our history, there have been times when it didn't work so well. No matter how much we wanted to see ourselves as one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, the truth was somewhat less pleasant for some groups in this country. But over time and with various amounts of struggle, it seemed to me, anyway, that everyone in America had the same legal rights. And worldwide, that the idea of equality and fairness had gained more acceptance. 10 years ago, if you'd asked me, I would have said most of the Western world had adopted that mindset. I knew there were issues, but it seemed to me we were all becoming more alike than different. We were sharing, caring, and growing more connected. And the internet and the global economy brought people together who 50 years ago had never even heard of each other. So what happened? Why are we at each other's throats? Trying to answer that question, I looked at articles on both conservative and liberal writers, so I looked at both sides of that issue, and that's when I ran across the writings of a man named Saul Levine. His article, Belonging is Our Blessing, Tribalism is Our Burden, was a powerful reflection on the issue I was trying to understand, and so I downloaded his book, which is called Our Emotional Footprint. Great book. I highly recommend it to anyone who's not read it. In it, Dr. Levine shares the life stories of a group of strangers on a train. And after reading that and after all the other research I did, I think we are living in a world where an awful lot of people are struggling in the area of the 4 Bs that Dr. Levine writes about in the book. Before I get into that and explain that a little bit, I want to share a short piece of music with you. You'll notice that Dr. Levine has a subtitle here, Ordinary People and Their Extraordinary Lives. And he said that that subtitle was inspired by a piece of music written by Aaron Copland. I think you'll recognize it when you hear it. And that piece of music was actually written in 1942 at the onset of World War II. And it was written at the request of a symphony leader. But Mr. Copeland was inspired by a speech he had heard by Vice President Wallace. And Vice President Wallace said that that century they were living in, we're not in it anymore, I can't say it this century anymore, but that century, the 20th century, was the century of the common man. That it was a time for every man, everybody, to embrace their own greatness and to rise up and make the world what they wanted it to be rather than being ruled or governed by people in the minority who had all the power, the money, and so forth. So a time to move away from demagogues and a time to express all that is amazing about the common man. Right? Pretty impressive, yeah? So that's who we are. So what was Dr. Levine talking about with the 4 Bs? What he says is that in order for you to feel good about yourself and feel good about your life, there are 4 basic pillars, or it's a bedrock for you of how you feel good about getting through your day and getting through your life. The first one is being. So being is whether you have been a decent, caring, and worthy person. So when you look in the mirror, are you comfortable with who you are? That is the first of the B's. So that's being. Believing has to do with having meaningful values and ethical principles that govern behavior. So do you have something that you believe in? Do you have a code of ethics? That could be a religion, but it could be just your personal code. Okay. Benevolence, whether they feel that they enhance the lives of their families, friends, and communities. So do you have a sense that you are giving back, that you're making things better around you? That's the third B, benevolence. And the fourth B is belonging. So whether or not they felt close to and cared for by others and were able to care for others and felt appreciated and liked in return. So those 4 things are foundational to feeling good about yourself and feeling good about your life. Okay? So I told you that I read an article called Belonging is Our Blessing and Tribalism is Our Burden. When you look at that statement I made about people being at each other's throats, what we're really talking about is tribalism. And tribalism grows out of belonging, sadly enough. Okay, so belonging is about a capacity and a need for empathy, compassion, and communication. It has to do with feeling appreciated and respected and cared for, being part of a group of people that you love or care about. It has to do with having shared values, shared rituals, and shared attitudes. So, you know, any group that you're a part of, for example, LCSL is a group that you belong to. So we have shared values, rituals, and attitudes. Belonging creates feelings of warmth, welcome, and enriched lives. And it's essential to feeling good. We need to belong. That's very, very important. Okay. How does that become tribalism? Well, tribalism ramps it up. Okay. It takes it to another level. Tribalism is where people within the group have animosity for those who are not in the group. So they look at the other people in the group and they go, we don't like them. Tribalism has this attitude of certainty that they are good, and by definition, if you aren't them, then you're bad. So tribalism speaks to a conviction that we are in the right. Okay, recognize that? Tribalism rationalizes hatred for other people. Usually based on prejudicial lore that's rooted in one or many of the things you see there: religion, ethnicity, race, economics, and politics. Okay, that's what we mean when we talk about tribalism. And what's the problem with tribalism? Well, in addition to really not feeling very good, I think, for those of us who aren't fans of that, it leads to violence, bloodshed, and war. Basically, every war that's ever been fought has been fought by people who are in a tribalistic mindset. Okay? So not only did they have belonging to a group, but they felt like because they belonged to that group, they had a right to take things or change things for people that weren't in that group. That's right. And that is not a modern thing. That is an ancient part of who we are. Right? Particularly when we evolve with limited resources. So you picture the Stone Age, the Ice Age, you're struggling to survive, there's very little for you to get by on, and who are you going to want to maintain all your resources for? Us. And if someone comes in from the outside, in your interest of self-preservation, you need to be able to justify not letting them have your resources. So it grew out of that. It's very natural. It's a very normal thing that happens. But hopefully, we've come way beyond that in this day and age, right? So it's this paradox. Belonging is a basic human need, but it could lead to tribalism. And tribalism is destructive to peace on earth. And peace on earth is really a basic human need too, right? It's what we need. It's what we need to thrive. All the greatest things that ever happen in the world, I think, happen when we're in peacetime. Yes, there are advancements during war, but the great creative expansion comes out of having the energy to not do battle, to be able to be creative and to grow. So why is belonging harder today? Because I think it really is. And I don't know if any of you have ever thought about this, but belonging is tougher today. Genuine belonging depends on having an in-person relationship with members of a group. Okay? Well, an awful lot of people today are isolated, and their interactions with people are limited, right? And you can think of lots of ways that in today's world, you don't have to interact with anybody if you don't want to, right? You can work from home. You don't ever have to go in anywhere to earn a living. You can do that right in your own home. You don't have to get out of your car. If you're driving around in your car and you want something, most of the things that you need, you can drive right up to a window and get them. You can do your banking. You can go get your food. Don't have to get out of the car. You can get someone else to drive your food to your house, right? So there are a lot of delivery services available today, and that's expanding all the time, isn't it? You can shop online. Anybody do any online shopping? Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah. Amazon's at my house every other day. I think they're in my bathroom. I'm not sure. So social engagement has shifted away from the community and into that digital realm. So we are engaging with people that we can't see. Many times we don't even hear them. We're just engaging with them on the screen. Okay? Electronic communication makes it harder to assess the true characteristics of the person on the other side of the interaction. Now, you don't have to raise your hand for this, but anyone who's ever tried online dating, you know this is true, right? So, what people say about themselves from the protection of a screen where you don't really see them or hear their voice or interact with them may not be true. And yet, we form relationships with people based on their screen persona. And can you see where that's not really belonging? Right. The other danger with electronic communication, I think, goes back to tribalism, because it makes it really easy to be mean. Verbal cruelty is much more common in the digital realm, because the person on the other side can just slam you and be mean to you. They don't have to see your face. They don't have to think of you as human. They can just think of you as them. So that, I think, is making it harder to feel a true sense of belonging today. Believing is harder too. Okay? So if you look at church attendance, and that's, again, not just in America, but all over the world, church attendance is declining. And there are a lot of good reasons for that. People are busy. People have found other ways to get their spiritual needs met. And certainly churches are not the only, and maybe not even the best, place for individuals to develop meaningful values and ethical principles. There are other ways to develop those principles. But not everybody's a self-starter. Okay, not everybody is going to pick up a spiritual or a philosophical work and figure it out for themselves, right? So we have to get our understanding and our believing, generally where that comes from, is from interacting with other people, usually people that we respect or admire. So we're turning to them to say, what should I believe in? I'm not sure what to believe in, especially when you talk about little children. If you looked back at our ancestors, participating in a common belief system was really mandated. I mean, you didn't have the option to not go to church 200 years ago. You went, Or if you want to go back a few thousand years ago, you didn't have a couple of people that attended the big tribal dance around the fire. Everybody went, and you believed what your parents believed. And I think it's great that we've moved beyond that and that we have self-expression. I think everybody in here who comes to this kind of a place has a history with maybe not believing in what your parents believed in. And I think it's great that we are advancing and growing in that way. But I do think it's a little bit sad that there are an awful lot of people who don't have anywhere to turn to figure out what should I be believing in. I don't know what to believe in, right? Can you see that, where that's a challenge? So if there's a vacuum, something will fill it. Nature abhors a vacuum. So if there's a vacuum, something will fill it. And what have we filled with that vacuum of sort of a cultural or community belief system? Well, we've got the television. And we've got the radio. And we've got movies. And we've got YouTube and the internet. So these are places that people are going, especially young people. But people of all ages are getting their sense of what do I believe in from those cultural icons. I listed a few up there. Some I love and some I don't. But you can see that there are a lot of options out there for what you might be inspired by and what you might choose to believe in. Okay? And what you listen to is going to really impact your beliefs about the world and the people who live in it, right?
And none of it involves connection.
That's right. There's no connection there. And there's no real opportunity for questioning and interacting because that person is just on a screen and you're hearing what they say. The B's affect each other. So belief is going to be strengthened when one belongs to a group with shared values. And being is going to be enhanced by belonging and believing. And benevolence really springs from being. If you feel really good about who you are, isn't it easier to give to others? If you have a value system that says it's important to give back, isn't it easy to give to others? Right? And if you belong to a group of people who make that their practice, you're a lot more likely to do that. So benevolence springs from being, and it's made easier when we belong to a group that believes in the importance of it. So those B's are all sort of entangled and intermeshed in each other. And if you're weak in one of those areas, it may be impacting the others as well. And if you're really strong in one, it may prop up the others. There's a connection disconnect, I guess is what I'm saying. Humans crave connection. We agree? I mean, even when you want to hide on your couch and not talk to anybody, you don't want to do that forever. At some point, you're going to want to hear a human voice and to feel like somebody actually sees you and knows who you are. The internet connects people all over the world. So in that way, it's kind of exciting. But people are feeling more isolated and depressed than ever. There's a lot of people who don't feel connected at all. People who yearn for belonging, belief, and being are vulnerable to charismatic people with a good story, right? So, like I said, if there's a vacuum, you're looking for something to fill that vacuum. Humans tend to ascribe good qualities to people they find attractive. Now, I'm not just talking about romantically attracted to. I'm talking about people that you see and you think, wow, they really impress me. That person is awesome. They're interesting. They may be beautiful. They seem smart. Whatever it is about them, whatever characteristic it is that attracts you to that person, we tend to assume that means they're a good person. They've done research on people who are more likely to get a job. The person who's attractive and more charming is more likely to get a job. So it's deep in our nature to assume good things about people that we think are attractive. Unfortunately, very few people today have the time or the energy or the inclination to dig deeply into facts. So once they decide, I think this is a great person, that's generally enough for them, and they're willing to go along and follow. So followers may know very little about the group they've chosen for belonging to. Okay, so they now belong to this group, but on a deeper level, they may not really understand what they belong to. And they may not really understand much about the beliefs they've adopted. So this group they've become part of may have a whole range of beliefs. They only are attracted to whatever caught their eye to begin with, and they don't really understand what they've signed up for. But they've decided they're part of that group. And once you decide you're a part of a group, you really resist being told that your group is not okay. Does that make sense? So what can we do about that? How do we do that? So that seems to be the state of the world, but what can the people who are sitting in this room do about that? Well, you need to start with the end in mind. And I think we need to consider what's important to us. I put some things up there that I would like to achieve. I think they may resonate with you, but there may be other things that you'd like to achieve. But let's talk about healthy connections with people. Since we all need that, let's have healthy connections with people. Let's have more compassion and more kindness for everyone. Anybody in here think that would be good? More kindness and compassion for everyone? Okay, good. We're all on the same page then. How about raising the vibration of your family? Anybody during the holidays, would you like to raise the vibration of your family? How about raising the vibration of your community? Can we sign up for that? What about this country? Would you like the vibration of the country to go up? Maybe even the whole world. Wouldn't that be great? I mean, I'm not going to start singing Kumbaya, but wouldn't it be great if we all had that higher vibration? So we'd like things to go up a notch around us, and on the inside, what do we want? On the inside, I'd like to have peace. I'd like to have joy. I'd like to have love. Aren't those the things that Christmas is about? Peace, joy, and love. We hear that all the time. Isn't that in every song that you hear? For you, for yourself, but also for those closest to you. That's what we want, right? Dr. Levine would call that having a positive emotional footprint. Okay, so if you read his book, you'll hear more about that. But his take on it is, what we want to do as humans is feel that by our presence here, the world got better. And the world might just be the 3 people that you interact with every day. It doesn't have to be the whole great big world, but just that you have a positive impact on your environment. And that's a positive emotional footprint, and it's within reach for us. I want you to follow the flight attendant's advice. Everybody in here ever flown a plane? Okay, and they do the demonstration up front, and the first time you ride on a plane, right, you really listen to it. What am I supposed to, you get the little booklet out and you're reading it. Make sure you're doing it right. But they talk about if the cabin loses pressure, what's going to happen? An oxygen mask is going to fall out of the ceiling. And who are you supposed to put the oxygen mask on first? Even if you're traveling with a 3-year-old, you're supposed to make sure that you can breathe first. It is very important, particularly when things are stressful, that we are taking care of ourselves. We've got to do that, okay? So we want to cultivate the practices that keep those B buckets filled. So believing, belonging, benevolence. We want to keep those filled. And how do we do that? Well, one strategy is forgiveness. Forgiveness is a really powerful way to feel better. Because if you're not forgiving, then you are carrying stuff around that is dragging you down. So learning how to forgive is a really important strategy in taking care of yourself. Gratitude. Everybody in here a fan of gratitude? Anybody in here feel like it's made a huge difference in your life to be grateful? That ability to be grateful makes everything better. So cultivate that in your life. Friendship. We need friends, and we need real friends. You know, we need people that look us in the eye, who give us amazing hugs. You know, we need people who make us feel seen and heard and valued. So if you have friends and you've just gotten too busy to spend much time with them, I would encourage you to invest time in your friendships because it makes everything better. And it doesn't have to be every day, all day. Just a couple of times a year. If there's someone you don't see very often, but they really charge you up and they lift you up and you haven't talked to them in a while, pick up the phone. Hey, I've got some time next week. Let's go to dinner. So friendship is really, really important. You want to cultivate that. Offering and accepting support. So that has to do with that benevolence, but benevolence goes both ways. So not only do you want to offer to help the people that are around you, when you see an opportunity to do that, it could be something big. Maybe you have something amazing you can do, like build a wheelchair ramp for your disabled neighbor, okay? Or maybe what you're going to do is stop on the street and give an elderly gentleman a little bit of your attention and be nice to him because he needed some connection today. So big and little, offering support will make your life better. But you also need to accept support. Doesn't it feel good to give? So don't you want to let people do that? So if somebody's trying to give you something, just say yes. Just say thank you. Yes, thank you. Okay? Let them give to you. And some of us were trained not to do that. Some of us were trained to say no, you know. Some of us were trained when someone says, oh, I love your hair, to go, oh, you know, I don't know. Or, that's a really pretty dress. I've had it forever, you know. Instead, just say thank you. Because when someone offers you something, whether it's words of praise or money or to help you carry your groceries, say yes. Because you're giving them an opportunity to feel good. And if you give them an opportunity to feel good, that makes the world better. The more people who are feeling good, the better the whole world will get. We want to live in a state of positive expectancy. Now, Dr. Levine called this hope. And the reason I changed it to positive expectancy has to do with science of mind. Because in science of mind, hope has a little element of doubt in it. I hope something will happen. I'm not really sure that it will. Okay? But that was not what Ernest Holmes suggested. He suggested that we should know our good. So I'm saying you need to know. You have to have a positive expectation that when you step out your door today, you're going to encounter kind people. You are taking one with you. So there's one kind person, and you're going to meet lots of other kind people, and we're all going to be loving and caring about each other, and it's going to be a good day. And having that sense of positive expectancy will really keep you built up and keep those 4 Bs filled. So we want to improve our being, belonging, believing, and benevolence to make life better for ourselves and to make life better for everybody that we encounter. We want to be the light that we want to see in the world. What better time to shine when there's so much darkness? And maybe that's why at this time of year we're all shining so bright, because it's just gotten so dark and we're trying to get out of that mindset and be happy and joyous. So this is the time to shine, when the world is dark. Not just when the world is turned at the solstice, but when the world you see on TV and in the media and just generally is dragging you down. That's the time when you want to glow. Because if you're feeling like it's awfully dark, don't you think there are other people who are feeling like it's awfully dark? And when they encounter someone like you, who is bright and shining and loving and joyous, isn't that going to make the world better for them? But that's what we want to do. So at the end of his book, Saul wrote a piece about an important choice. He says, we have crucial decisions to make about our attitudes and behaviors, and the stakes are high. We know that we humans are capable of inspiring creativity and acts of benevolence, and that respect, tolerance, and caring engender the same attitudes and behaviors in return. If we continue to express incivility and display the nastier sides of humanity, we threaten the quality of our lives and perhaps even our ultimate existence. If we become sufficiently concerned about this issue, we could concentrate on improving our patterns of communication and behavior. We humans could establish a positive emotional footprint as an overriding and universal mission, a legacy to future generations. Calculations of social and emotional emissions are imprecise, but what if, by our acts of decency and by the kindness and respect we show in our daily lives, we add positive energy to the atmosphere and reduce the emotional toxins in our environment as we increase the quantum goodness of the social ether? I know that's very etheric, but I think it's really a great idea. So I think that's what we want to try to do as individuals and as groups. But there is a small problem, right? So we're all about love and light, and you can do a tremendous amount for yourself in walking that path, but you are going to encounter other people on your journey who maybe aren't quite quite as loving and light as you are at any given time. And we are going to encounter people that maybe we disagree with, right? It's the holidays. You'll be spending time with groups of people that maybe you don't normally hang out with. And one of the things that we do, I think, when we're passionate about what we believe in, is we tend to avoid being with people that don't believe the way we do, right? Because then we don't have to have our beliefs challenged. We can just go about our merry way, and that's very comfortable. But I've discovered, and I'm sure you have too, there are people I really, really love who I don't necessarily agree with on some things that are important to me, right? I mean, I really love them. And yet sometimes something comes out of their mouth and I'm like, what? Okay? So that's real. That's happening out there. What do we need to do about that? Well, there's some things you don't want to do. Okay, you want to avoid what's called the righting reflex. So when you're interacting with someone and there's some disagreement between you, but they state their point and you state your point, you don't want to start throwing information at someone to tell them what's right. Most of us do not really appreciate being told that we're wrong, and we don't want someone slamming something down our throat about what's right. Well, here's what's right, and here's how I know it's right. I know all about it, okay? That is not going to work. That's not going to create a better relationship or experience with that person. So you want to watch out for resistance. What does resistance look like? Arguing, denying or defending your position, ignoring what the other person is saying, and interrupting. When those types of things occur in a conversation, most human beings respond with confrontational behavior. So they either run away, but a lot of times if what someone does, you are having a conversation and you think something, and the other person says, no, that's not true. Typically, what we do is we go, yes, it is true. Okay, so that's a confrontational reaction. When you do that, when you come at someone that way, their reaction is going to be to dig their heels in. Okay, so if you're trying to create agreement and cooperation with another person, the last thing you want to do is argue, defend, ignore what they're telling you, or interrupt them. Okay, and all of that just makes the situation worse. So don't do those things. What you want to do instead is agree. I don't know if any of you have ever had to answer the phone and deal with an unhappy customer. Anybody ever had dealt with someone who did not like what was going on? Okay, and so you're on the phone talking to the unhappy customer, and common wisdom is if you're trying to resolve a situation with someone who's unhappy, the very first thing you have to do is agree with them. And that can be really hard, because what this person is saying to you is not something you agree with. So you have to figure out what you do share with this person. So in the example of a complaint, let's say I'm a manager and a patient calls in to complain about one of my staff and says, she did this terrible thing. And my impulse, because I'm protective of my staff person, is to say that did not happen. There's no way she did that. Now that may be what I'm thinking, but that's not what needs to come out of my mouth. Instead, what needs to come out of my mouth is something that somehow agrees with what this person is saying without saying something that I don't think is true. So what I might want to say instead is, I can tell you're really upset, and I'm so sorry that something has happened that has upset you. We don't want anyone in our organization to do anything that might upset you. Okay, so I can say that's true, and that makes it a little bit easier for us to connect, because we need to connect with other people. So if someone is saying something you disagree with, try to find the common ground. Whatever that might be, look for the common ground. Sometimes as you're interacting with someone, they may express some inner conflict. So sometimes people who have signed up to believe in something may have decided, I thought I was on board with this or that, and now I'm not sure I agree with all of it. And our impulse might be the righting reflex. that's right, you shouldn't be thinking that because that is wrong and this is what you ought to be believing. I'm really glad you've changed your mind. That's exactly what you need to do. That's not going to do it, okay? You need to be very gentle, and you need to maybe reflect what they just said to you. You know, I'm thinking that guy might be kind of a jerk. So, yes, he is a jerk. No, you're not going to say that. You say, no, that's not going to work. What you need to say instead is, so something, you saw something or heard something and you didn't like that, and just create a space for that person to go further in exploring what it is that they're not comfortable with that belief system or belonging that they are engaged in. The other thing that you may hear from people that you have been in disagreement with, but now they're sort of shifting their mindset, they may have regret. So if you're interacting with people that you haven't seen in a while and perhaps there was a negative interaction between the two of you in the past, that person may choose to express regret or remorse about what they've done, okay? We've got to come at them with understanding, right? Because we've all done things maybe we shouldn't have done, and we've all said things maybe we shouldn't have said. If someone is expressing regret, what you don't want to do is, that's right, that was really stupid that you did that. I can't believe you did something like that. That's just awful. That's not going to work, okay? That's just going to push them away and make them not want to engage with you. And what we want is more engagement. So you have to find a way to be loving and compassionate and supportive of a person when they have come to you and said, I think maybe I did the wrong thing. You know, you might want to say something like, well, you know, we've all made mistakes. You know, or well, I really appreciate you sharing that with me. Does that make sense to everybody? I think there's going to be times when you're interacting with people for whom there is no common ground. Vicki, can I help you with that? There we go. So, you know, you're going to interact with people and realize, yeah, I got nothing. I just got nothing. If that's the case, I think it's okay to walk away. It's okay to move on. But I would encourage you to practice forgiveness. You know, probably not out loud. I forgive you for being wrong is not going to be the way to go. But as you're walking away, maybe say a little prayer, okay, I'm going to just forgive. I'm just going to understand that they are doing the best they can in the situation that they're in right now. I can't tolerate what's going on, so I'm going to walk away, but I'm going to love them anyway. Because at the end of the day, you can find something to love about every single person. Why? Because God made all of us. And so no matter how deeply divided we feel, we are all one. Okay? And we all have things in common. And that human being that you're looking at who is making your teeth grind together and you feel like pulling out your hair is a human being with something beautiful in them. So figure out what that is and love that about them. All right? Can we all get on board with that? Okay. Remember, too, that facts are not the same as truth. So Ernest Holmes says, facts are appearances. They are the way things seem to be. But the truth is bigger than the facts. So the fact is there's a lot of ugly tribalism happening. But the truth is we are all one. The fact is the internet seems to be simultaneously connecting us and dividing us. The truth is we are all one. The fact is, life has a lot of obstacles to what we hope to achieve. The truth is, there is only one life. That life is God's life, and that life is our life now. The fact is, there are a lot of people with ideas that are disturbing or frightening to us. The truth is, we are all God's people. The fact is, one person can't possibly touch the lives of everyone affected by the negativity happening today. The truth is, everyone you touch has been in the presence of God, acting in, as, and through you. The truth is, there is no limit on the power of the Creator, the universe, the great I am that most people call God, but you can call it whatever you want to. You are the place where it shows up. So I'm going to let Eddie Watkins explain that a little bit better than me, and we're going to do our closing song now. So if you guys want to stand with me, and we'll listen to Mr. Watkins do his thing. Sing along if you know it.
Strong enough to bear the burdens that sometimes come, living this thing called life. Am I
Wise enough to make the right decisions when I'm standing at the fork in the road? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up.
will I have enough to do the things
I need to do to take care of myself. Will I
have the health
of mind and body to live a life of grace and wholeness? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place. You are the place. We are the place where God shows up. I am the place. You are the place. We are the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. Woo!
Thank you, everybody, so much for coming. That's all we've got for you today. Have a great week, and come back.